far from the bustle of the city, stood an old house long forgotten by time. The house was located at the end of a narrow path, surrounded by dense woods that seemed to want to hide its existence from the outside world. The local villagers called it the haunting house in Rawan village, and eerie stories about it had circulated for generations. One cold November night, Alex, a renowned mystery writer known for his investigations into paranormal cases, decided to explore this house. Curious about the legends surrounding it, he brought his recording equipment and flashlights to uncover the truth behind the myth. As Alex entered the house, he was greeted by a dark, damp atmosphere. The wooden floors creaked under his footsteps, and the air inside felt heavy, as if something was holding its breath. His flashlight revealed moldy walls and decaying furniture. What stood out the most were the old photographs hanging on the walls. Every face in the photographs seemed to be staring directly at Alex, as if observing him. Alex proceeded to the upper floor. In the main room on the second floor, he found a bedroom that still retained its old-world charm. In the center of the room was a large bed with curtains surrounding it. As Alex approached, he felt as if something was watching him from behind the curtains. Cautiously, he drew back the curtains and found an old statue remarkably similar to one of the photos on the wall. The statue seemed too lifelike, its empty eyes staring with an unnerving gaze. That night, as Alex rested in the living room, he heard strange noises from upstairs. The noises were like heavy footsteps, accompanied by faint whispers that were almost inaudible. Trying to dismiss it as a result of the old house's condition, Alex continued his investigation the next morning. Over the following 2 days, the strange sounds grew more intense and clear. Alex began to feel overwhelmed by the house's atmosphere. He also found that his recording equipment often malfunctioned. Strange recordings and blurry images appeared on video. Trying to explain these phenomena with scientific reasoning, Alex discovered an old diary in the basement. The diary detailed the story of a family who had lived in the house about 100 years ago. The family consisted of a harsh father and children who were reportedly abused. One day, the family disappeared without a trace, and only rumors of their mysterious deaths remained. The diary mentioned an ancient ritual performed by the father to contact another world, which was believed to have opened a gateway for malevolent entities. On his final night in the house, Alex felt a strong presence. The footsteps grew closer, and the whispers became clearer, seeming to threaten and plead for something. When Alex entered the bedroom, he saw the old statue moving slowly. The statue appeared to speak with a raspy, inhuman voice, expressing pain and suffering. Alex began to experience even more terrifying phenomena. Strange shadows appeared in every corner of the room, forming shapes that seemed to reach out and pull him in. The darkness thickened, and Alex felt trapped in an endless nightmare. In the final moments, Alex desperately tried to escape the house. However, doors seemed to vanish one by one, and he felt as though the house itself was trying to keep him inside. In his desperation, Alex ran back to the basement, where he found a small hole that seemed like a possible escape route. With one last hope, he jumped into the hole and found himself outside the house. When Alex emerged from the house, he felt relieved, but the unsettling sense of dread continued to haunt him. He gathered all the evidence he had and left the village with mixed feelings. However, after a few months, Alex found that records of the case were starting to disappear from his files. Even the recordings he took seemed to be damaged, as if something wanted to erase the trace of the house's existence. Alex never returned to the village. Though he attempted to contact the villagers for more information, they only gave vague answers and avoided the topic of the house. The haunting house in Rawan village remained a mystery, and Alex could only hope he had escaped the darkness lurking within. Yet, there were rumors that Alex often woke up with nightmares about the house. Some even said that he frequently spoke to himself about the voices he heard and the shadows that followed him. The haunting house in Rawan village might have returned to calm, but the stories of its dark nights continued to serve as a warning to those who dared to enter the world of hidden mysteries and unseen dangers. After his traumatic experience in the haunting house, Alex tried to return to his normal life as a writer. However, whenever he sat down to write, his mind drifted back to the terrifying nights he spent in that house. He began to feel as though something was following him, bringing him back to the place he should have left forever. Several months later, Alex received a mysterious package with no sender. Inside, there was an old book that resembled the diary he had found in the basement of the haunting house. The book had no title, but its pages were filled with disturbing drawings and ancient symbols. Each drawing seemed to depict rituals and entities from another dimension. As Alex started reading the book, he found handwritten notes explaining that the ritual performed by the family in the house was actually intended to open a gateway between their world and another world, a world where malevolent entities resided. The book also mentioned that although the ritual was meant to summon entities for a specific purpose, it could also bind these entities strongly, trapping them in the human world and seeking revenge for their betrayal. That same night, Alex felt a familiar presence, as if something had been following him from the village. He began seeing dark shadows in the corners of his rooms and hearing the same whispers he had heard in the haunting house. The terror he experienced in the house was now affecting his everyday life. Determined to end the disturbances, Alex decided to return to the village and investigate further. He learned that some villagers who had previously avoided him were now speaking about strange occurrences they had experienced after his visit. They described nightmares, eerie noises at night, and a pervasive sense of discomfort spreading through the village. Alex discovered that some villagers had also been troubled by the same entities, suggesting that the entities had become more active after Alex's intrusion into the house and disturbed the villages. Peace. Alex learned from the villagers that there was a crucial part of the ritual he hadn't discovered in the previous book. This part involved a special ceremony that could reverse the effects of the initial ritual and close the gateway that had been opened. The ceremony required gathering specific materials and performing the ritual on the night of the full moon, when supernatural energy was at its peak. With the help of brave villagers, Alex prepared everything needed for the ceremony. They gathered the materials mentioned in the book and began preparations on the night of the full moon. The haunting house, which seemed unchanged, became the focal point of the ceremony. The full moon night arrived, and Alex and the villagers entered the haunting house. The atmosphere inside grew even more oppressive, and the presence of the entities became more palpable. Dark shadows gathered around them, and the whispers grew louder. During the ritual, they had to contend with various obstacles and disruptions from the entities trying to thwart their efforts. As the ritual progressed, the supernatural energy in the house became overwhelming. Alex and the villagers felt as though they were on the brink of the boundary between the real world and the other realm. They persevered with determination, despite some of them showing signs of helplessness and exhaustion. With almost impossible effort, Alex and the villagers completed the ritual. During the process, they felt a powerful burst of energy, followed by an eerie silence. The haunting house seemed to begin transforming. The oppressive atmosphere dissipated, and the presence of the terrifying entities appeared to vanish. That night, the villagers and Alex experienced a peace they had never known before. The haunting house, once menacing, now seemed to have returned to a state of normalcy, and the disturbances troubling the village seemed to have ceased. Alex left the village with a sense of relief but also a heavy sense of responsibility. He realized that while he had managed to close the gateway, there was still much to learn about the hidden world behind the darkness. He decided to continue investigating paranormal phenomena, but with greater caution and understanding of boundaries that should not be crossed. The haunting house in Rawan village might have returned to peace, but the stories of its dark nights remained a cautionary tale for those brave enough to venture into a world full of hidden mysteries and unseen dangers.